Hi, you're listening to Meeple, uniting players from around the world. And today we are going to talk about The Heat is Gonna Get Ya. Three, well, maybe more than three, hot games that have been hitting the table. So the summer is coming to the end. The weather is just starting to cool off as we reach autumn. And we're going to keep the heat up and talk about hot games. And I'm PJ, and with me, as always, Gareth. How are you, sir?
I'm good, really good. Got a little bit of a husky voice because I've been at a theme park all day, screaming on all the fast rides. So,
I
but
feel
that
like,
won't stop us.
we've had a lot of demands for Husky Gareth, and I feel like you're going out of your way to try to strain your voice so that you can be husky for these
All
episodes.
those people who request that more husky, rugged, podcast sounding Gareth. Here I am again, dealing with the fan
So,
requests. I should be on some
yeah,
sort of, um, payment system.
I agree. So we're going to talk about hot games,
Hot
and
games.
I believe you have probably the hottest game on your table recently.
Well, it's a game that I had ignored for a long time. I wouldn't say it's
As I did
hot as
too.
in brand new, but I think it was at the UK Games Expo where one of the Instagrammers, I think it was Dan, was saying to me about Wonderlands War, and I was like, yeah, I've seen that. It's on Kickstarter. Don't think it's really for me. Um, then he just told me how amazing it was, and I was like, oh, that's not how I thought the game was like. So anyway, that was 4 months ago, and then about 6 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, Skybound had a load of the Kickstarter copies left over on their website for sale, as well as the premium chips. So the game's got cardboard components, or you can go full on deluxe with minis and custom meeples, and then you can pay even more money for premium chips because it's a bag builder game. So I went all in and then just
You
crossed my
go all
fingers.
in.
I went all in, and of course it's shipping from the US, and I was like, cause it says customs included, and I was like, really? Anyway, it arrived, customs and duty included, which was amazing. So
Very nice.
yeah, very nice. So it's hit the table 3 times. I'm teaching it tomorrow at Nick Boardgames Review UK's birthday games day tomorrow, and it's it's yeah, bag builder, area control. Um, we've played it with 2 players, 3 players, 4 players. Not tried 5. I think 5 will be tomorrow. And it works really well at 4. I thought 2 player wouldn't work, but actually, each character, whether you're a Cheshire Cat or you're Alice, has got a 2-sided player board, one for standard game, one for 2 player. That worked really well, and I've recommended it to people for a 2 player. I mean, I think more is better, but it was a good experience at 2. So yeah, it's a bag builder, area control, drawing from your bag. Obviously, there's a bit of luck going on with what you draw, but you can mitigate that quite heavily with what you do. Um, yeah, really good, really, really good. Highly recommend it. Anyone check it out. I think they've announced this week that another Kickstarter is coming back end of the year for a reprint of all that stuff. So if you have missed out and you want the deluxe stuff, it's coming soon, and a small mini expansion, which they don't think I've seen a reveal for. And of course, the minis were there, and the minis are really cool because it's got different characters from the books, like Tweedledee brothers, various other ones I've now forgotten. Um, and I've always said, I think I've spoken to you about this before, about doing mini prints, like painting minis, and because I've got a tremor,
Yes,
I've
absolutely.
got a tremor. I've had it for years, which means that if I try to do something really delicate, often my hand shake. But the minis are so good, and I did some googling and found that you can do using Army Painter's speed paints. That you can just do like a standard wash in one color. It looks far better. So I thought I'm going to give this a go. Ended up doing a couple of those. Then went, I'm going to actually have a go at painting these, you know, in sections. And so yeah, did
Yes.
2 or 3 of those and my hands weren't too bad. So I will put some photographs up at some point. So I've now painted all of Wonderland's War. Nemesis is next. I've just got some black primer and some grey primer. So we're going to do some Nemesis painting next. And that's like falling down another Wonderlands War rabbit hole. So look down the looking glass, we'll see what happens. I've got about 36 paints already, loads of brushes. I've properly, that's a whole other story. So that's another episode actually, I think. But that's Wonderlands War.
It really is, yeah. Painting minis, absolutely.
Painting minis.
So I have a very important question about Wonderland War, but before we lose it, talking about mini painting. All right, so here's a trick. All right, so you take your Nemesis minis and you prime them with the black, and then you take a white primer. You could use that gray. You could use the gray. And then you do a light primer from directly above.
Got it. I'm on it. I've got the black, I've got the grey from the side, and the white from the top. Is it called a xanthanol?
Zenithal highlight.
Yeah.
I learned everything I learned about painting mini, as well as my wife. We learned from Sarastro, who's one of your kinsmen across the pond.
I think I might have watched the same video.
You probably did.
Yeah, there's loads.
So early on, we were painting the minis for Star Wars Imperial Assault.
That's the video.
At the end of the day, it's 179 miniatures for one game, and they're all painted.
Wow, that's fair play. So Nemesis next, but Wonderlands War, check it out. It's about 2.8 complexity, and looks beautiful on the table. Check out my Instagram. Last week or so posts, there's at least 2 there. It's a lot of color.
I felt like you. I also, looked like it was for me. I chose not to back it. After listening to you the past week or so, I've been jealous, and I'm like, oh, I should have.
Kickstarter.
I should have backed it. So here's my question: 2 players. When you're playing, does it force you to play this specific characters, or can you choose from all the available characters?
Choose all characters. They closed off. There's 5 areas of control. One of those gets closed down at random. There's a couple of cards out of the Wonderlarians. So these are like special creatures, some of the characters or special artifacts you can get. 2 of those are taken out.
Okay.
And then when you're doing, so you do a round of basically moving your character around the table, picking a card. In a normal game, you stop at 4 cards each. In a 2-player, it's 5 cards, I think. Was it 3 and 4? Yeah, I think it's 4 and 5.
Okay.
So that's pretty standard. And when you do then you go around every area to battle. There's a 3rd player who's basically set to like power 3, 5, and 7. So you have to get past that. So it forces you to at least have a battle. If I had no of my characters in a zone, then obviously somebody else would win quite easily. So that worked really well. I thought that feels a bit weak, but it did work really well. So it's good.
And a 2-player. Last question: how long did it take?
Just fast, half an hour.
Really?
Yeah, it was quick. Maybe 45 minutes.
Okay.
Once you got the rules nailed, it's really easy. I think when we played, the first game I taught was 4-player, and that took about 2.5 hours. But that was to teach, and we were checking some things. But I could teach it now, and get everyone playing pretty quick.
Well, that's going to be a great selling point for my wife. So when she listens to this episode, Wonderland's War, honey, we need to get that.
Yeah, you do. Right. So what's been hitting your table?
Similar in a, I guess it's kind of, although it's not Alice in Wonderland, but it's still that kind of a look through the looking glass. We've been playing Sleeping Gods, which we picked up at Gen Con, which was hot last year, but it's still hot. People are still talking about it, a recent expansion. In fact, we've enjoyed our experience so much that we bought the 2 expansions so that we have more content to work through. We just finished last weekend our first run through of the game, and it's amazing because there's still so much content to unlock. So you're going to run through it again. It's a great story. There are very few narratives that really captured both of our imagination, and it was just she and I, so we've only played it 2-player. I like the way, no matter your player count, so you have a crew of 8 plus the captain, and when it's your turn, you have depending on player count. So at 2 players, there are 4 crew members in front of me that I use their skills for challenges. The captain we both can use during our turn, so it's kind of like a fifth.
Yeah.
If you're playing with, so you divide the 8 evenly, right? So in a 4 player, you have 2 crew members in front of you. In a 3 player, you have 3 crew members in front of you. Someone's going to have a fourth. So I like the way that it scales. It's a really cool story, and it's not like other games where you make a decision, open a book, and read. While there is that element to it, there are challenges and there's combat, and so there's definitely things to do other than just reading a story. Oh, that's fun. And the storage, it's not really an insert, but a storage for the cards are amazing. There's a box that closes using magnets,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where all the cards that unlock in the course of the game are stored. So for those of you who've played Gloomhaven, where you unlock things, right? You have like there's the envelopes and the paper boxes for the characters and things like that to unlock. This is better in terms of the physical components of the game, in storing unlockable content. It's really beautiful. You definitely get the feeling that you're on a boat,
Mm-hmm.
which is the Manticore, and you're going from island to island trying to, let the story unfold. I don't want to say too much
I'm about to
because
say
it's
you'll be,
so
yeah, you can't
narrative
do
driven,
spoilers.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, you really feel like you're a part of a crew, and there's some really interesting backstories of the crew, because they're like a cardboard mat. On the backside is their backstory. They actually feel like people. It's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. So we've hit that, and
That's one of those games that I saw it on Kickstarter, didn't think it was for me. Kind of just, I think so we played like, near and far and above and below. And
yep.
just thought, it's just a, rinse and repeat. But everyone you speak to says how great it is. And now you have said the same. But you can't say
Yeah.
much more without
So
spoiling it.
I can't. So that's it for me. So that's Sleeping Gods. If you haven't played it, and I know surprisingly there are some people in the community that haven't played it, and I'm really surprised. But it's worthy. It's really worth picking up and playing,
I think it
because
ends up on my wish list. I
we've
think. Let's check it out.
we've
Next time.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and I'm glad I waited. Right, it was because I think we got it for right at 100, just under 100 US at Gen Con.
Was there
Because
anything?
last year I think it was more last year,
Okay.
and it sold out really quickly. So
Was there anything in the Kickstarter that you haven't got?
I don't know. I don't
It's
think
probably
so.
best way to be.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Because now if I get Wonderlands War, I have to get everything, right?
Well, yeah, I mean the premium chips are really nice, but your cardboard ones
Yeah.
you can put them in coin capsules. That would work just as well. I would worry about just cardboard.
I do have to say,
always...
I'm disappointed that Wonderland War is what got to paint miniatures, but not Nemesis. Knowing how much you and I love Nemesis, those miniatures weren't enough, but Wonderland War did it.
No, I think it was just bite a bullet, and now I've got a whole table set up.
Now you have something to talk with my wife about, because she knows everything.
She can give me some advice.
Oh my God, she's got the whole setup. I mean, she literally has a corner of the basement that is just devoted to her miniature painting. Yeah,
okay.
She's
Let's do an episode.
Gifted and talented. So yeah, we should definitely do that. What's the next hot game on your table?
So again, this one's a Kickstarter that also I never even saw. So this is Planet Unknown. I first heard of this again at UK Games Expo. Some of the group we were with brought their copy. I think they were just shipping around the time of the expo. Again, people are really raving about it. And a few of them even went out and to hunt for a copy, because it was just a deluxe version, hadn't hit retail yet. I think the deluxe version has got nicer components, mostly some extra boards, extra mats. Again, I kind of ignored it, and then again talking, I think it was Nick, might be Nick said we're chatting about it when he came around to play games, And I was like, okay, I just keep hearing about this. I'll do some more investigation. I was like, yeah, this is really good. And the next day he texts me and goes, you'll never guess what, one of the UK websites, e-commerce sites had it in stock in the deluxe version. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to bite the bullet, because everybody that in my kind of the UK group has been raving about it. So that landed, and then that's been on the table over the last couple of weeks, 5 times, 6 times. It plays up to 6 players, so that's really good for a large gaming group. I think people may not disagree with me here, but I'd even class it as a filler. I think it plays super fast. It says it's like 60 to 80 minutes. If you've got a few people with AP, analysis, AP, I could see it being slower. But if everyone's generally switched on and is thinking about what they're doing and concentrating, we play it in about 20 to 30 minutes.
That is not what people are saying. When people describe this game, it's like it's long.
No,
it's epic. And you're calling it a filler. What?
I quoted myself the other day. I was like, yeah, no way, it's just like a filler. So we played it at the end of games night for like in about half an hour, 40 minutes. 4 players. I've not tried 6, so maybe 6 would put it up. But it's I guess that may be an experience gamer thing. I don't know whether we're just in the zone, because you spin it's got a lazy Susan with all the components in it, and every turn you turn it to what you want. You have a choice of 2 out of the depot, and everyone else is also picking at the same time. So you're all drawing and taking an action. So there's quite a bit of solitaire going on. There are objectives that sit between your players, so left and right of you, which obviously then your objectives only you two are kind of are aiming for. But you've got a planet. There's one side of the player board is symmetric. Everything else on the other side is asymmetric. And you've also got kind of a corporation board. Again, on one side is symmetric, on the other side is asymmetric. So I think we've knee played all games just as symmetric, because I've been teaching lots of new players it. So you take one of these polynomial shapes, you start on the outside, and then you basically either putting a tile down next to what you've previously put. They've got different structures on them, like civilization buildings, water. My brain has now gone dead. And they basically pump up a track, and as you got the track, you get bonus moves. You move like a little rover around your map, gathering both life pods or meteors. Meteors are really key. If they're on your player board, every grid mark, both horizontal and vertically, give you victory points. If you've got any meteors in those lines, then you do not score. So you're trying to hoover up as many of these meteorites as possible. And that's it. Plays really fast, very easy to teach once you've got to head around kind of the couple of goes. And I'd say, again, I'm taking it tomorrow to this thing, going to see that played with a couple more people. But yeah, that's been really good, and has become a firm favourite within our gaming group.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That's another one that I'm looking at going, I really want to copy. That looks really good.
It's definitely worth. It's the fact it's 6 players, and I think Boardgame Geeks like best 3 and 4. I can see 6. It's obviously getting everybody around it, but it plays pretty good. Again, about 2.28, nothing too complex, so kind of medium weight.
Wow.
Check it out. Yeah. Planet Unknown. In my husky
Oh my
voice. Goodness. So, what is your second game?
My second game is one that, so we demoed, Katie demoed this at Gen Con.
Okay.
I stood next to her because there wasn't a lot of room at the table. And it's Picture Perfect.
Tell me more.
Hold on here. Yes, Arcane Wonders.
Okay.
This game is crazy. You would never think. Okay, you're a photographer at a party.
Right.
And you have these little standees that represent the people at the party, and they're standing around like a dining room table, and they're going to pose for a picture, and you have to take a picture with your cell phone. And then when it's all said and done, you're ready to score. You don't look at where they're standing on the board in front of you. You look at where they're standing in the photograph.
Right.
So each individual, each standee, they have a particular desire, like this person wants to be standing next to this person, but not standing next to this person.
Right.
This person wants this other person's face to be hidden in the camera. Yeah, so it's crazy. But here's the thing. You don't know everybody's desires. And there's a total of 3. And like Clue or Cluedo for our UK brothers, they have each personality has like an envelope, and you stick 3 cards in them, okay? And then you'll be dealt 3 of those in front of you, and you can look at them, and you can see the 3 things that they want.
Right.
And there's a grid on the board, and so it tells you where they want to stand. Well, sometimes it's not possible. You can't be standing on the left of the table and on the right of the table. But you score based on how many of those you are able to accommodate, right? So when you get to scoring at the end, you're going to open all the envelopes. If you manage to meet one of their demands, you get 1 point. 2 of their demands, 3 points. If you get all 3, then it's 6 points. And if each player has like a ×2, so you can ×2 ahead of time. You stick that card in there, so when it comes out, you could get 12 points.
Sounds really fun.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and so we're learning it. We're a demo at Arcane Wonders at Gen Con, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I was kind of half in and out, paying attention to my wife. If she listens to this later, I'm sorry. Subsequently, we played it, she and I. It's fun, but then we played it at 4 and 5 player, and oh my God, I was not prepared for how much fun this game is. So much laughter and joking around, because there's also it's a house plant. It's like
I'm just looking at photographs now, and there's a house plant.
Yeah,
I see the house plant.
Yeah, there is a house plant, and the house plant has desires. So like the house plant wants to be standing next to the bearded guy or whatever, right? And it's just amazing, and it was just the idea that there's a plant that wants to be next to the table, right? Like,
Plants have got feelings too.
They do, as we learn playing Picture Perfect. But it's really cool, and the beauty is, like I said, you take the picture on your phone, and then when you go to score, so there's some where I want this person's face to be covered up in the photo. Well, you can use the decorations on the table. There's like candles and food. You could use those to obscure the face of that person, and then take the picture. And then you can score the points because you've succeeded in doing that. But again, you don't know. You don't know. Some of them you will never know until at the end, and you might score points. But if you get 0, you lose points. So
I'm gonna have to check this game out. Another one I completely missed.
It is awesome.
It looks really good fun.
No, it really is. It's a great kind of. See, that's the thing. And in last week's episode where we did party games, this does not feel like a party game, but we can play up to 6. Now it has a 5 and 6 player expansion.
Okay.
But we enjoyed it so much, we picked up because we didn't do it at Gen Con. We could have bought the whole thing and go all in, but we were in moderation. We got the pickpocket expansion, so there's like these 3 pickpockets wearing the classic black and white prisoners outfits, and they're trying to pick pockets, and so they're in there with their own agenda. And then there's the movie star expansion, which includes Charlie Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy, and it looks like Marilyn Monroe, but I'm not really sure. Her back is turned to the camera, so her standee, her back is turned. But it's really entertaining. You wouldn't think, but you just put these standees right in front of you and then take a picture and score points.
I'll try it. Somebody must
it will.
Yeah, it looks good.
So as you're developing a new skill, painting miniatures, this game will develop you an additional skill, taking photographs.
Taking photographs of people in a room and a plant who's got feelings.
That's right. It has feelings, wants and
Amazing.
desires. Did you know that? Yeah. So that's picture
Thank you.
perfect. I suggest picking that up. It's 2 to 4. There's an expansion for 5 to 6. You don't need the movie star and pickpocket expansion, but it's worthy. They have acrylic. You can replace the cardboard standees with acrylic standees, so it's like clear on the side.
Okay.
Then it's a little unnecessary, but it's still, it doesn't add to the game, but you know, if that's what you want, then you do
That's
it.
right.
Picture perfect.
Right then. So the third game, I think we've chosen the same game, and I blame you for this one. So on my list,
It
I
is
had.
all my fault.
So we've got My Father's Work, which I wrote on my 3, and then you have it on your list. Now, I had
My
never
father's
heard.
work.
In fact, there's a theme going on here tonight with my 3, because all of them were on Kickstarter, and all 3 of them I had ignored. Maybe because I was trying to save some money and not be crazy on Kickstarter. But My Father's Work, we were chatting like I think we were recording a podcast maybe a month or so ago, and you said, My Father's Work, and I was like, never heard of it. And in our preamble before we start recording. And
Yep.
I think a Saturday, maybe a month or so ago, I get my Saturday morning emails from all the board game stores online, and one of them had My Father's Work, and I was like, "Ooh," because it's not hitting retail, is it? It's only via Kickstarter or via their conventions and those kind of things. So
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it was the components that sold you. To be fair, the components sold just about
yeah,
everybody.
so this is a story-driven worker placement game. Again, spoilers
Yes.
wise,
Yep.
we'll be careful, but there's in the box is 3 different stories, and I know both of us have played Storybox 1, and I know from what you briefly told me and what I briefly told you, we've had completely different gaming experiences in terms of the way,
Yes.
and I think there's like 3 million permutations of story, the way the game can go. So it's app driven, which obviously has its pros and cons on this game. The game got released and they'd only finished like a demo web app, so there's a little bit of noise. But I say the game, I had the game within 2 weeks. The web app is live and that works really well. Some of it's narrated, some of it isn't, but I think it does its job pretty well. But that's probably another episode about web apps on its own.
No. We definitely talk about, we're going to do an episode on app driven games,
Yeah,
like exclusively app driven. So,
we'll do that.
for those of you who, like Gareth, had not heard of this, it's My Father's Work. It's by Renegade Games.
Yeah,
It's probably the most beautiful components ever. So the idea, because we're not spoiling anything, this is kind of the elevator pitch. The idea is that your father has recently died, and he was a mad scientist, and you inherit your father's work, and that could be reanimating the dead, a la Frankenstein. That could be lycanthropy, a la the werewolf. It could also be teleportation, like the transporters from Star Trek, but a little, more steampunk. Because it's in the late Victorian era,
yeah.
kind of, and you have a house in front of you, and it's a beautiful mat that's double layered, so you can build rooms and stuff. There's beautiful miniatures. Um, yeah, and
Metal
so you
coins
also have this, yeah, metal coins,
and
but
little vials that are empty, which
the
I've never bothered with.
chemicals,
Yeah, chemicals.
the chemicals are these tiny glass vials with these cork stoppers. I've seen some people fill them with various things just for decoration only, um, because they're empty. They just represent, you need chemicals to do these experiments. And yeah, it is fantastic. The metal gears, the beautiful wooden animals. You got to go grave. You got to go to the grave and rob the graves so that you can
Yeah, and your
fulfill your
workers can only go to
experiments.
certain places. Like, for example, you can't be seen going robbing graves. Is that right?
That's
As
correct.
the
And then like you have like a creepiness or
That's
something.
right. Yeah, creep
Um,
score.
each bit like a creep score. And so if you do too many things that creeps out the town people, then you can't go into town except to go to the church and make a donation
Yeah,
and
for
atone.
forgiveness. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But you have a spouse, you have a caretaker, And then, of course, you have a few servants that you can gain throughout the course of the game, right?
And the game board itself is the book, which starts on one page, and then you'll turn the page when the app tells you, and you might put a few new buildings, but the town evolves depending on the choices you make.
And the choices that you make could be different from me, right?
Completely.
Like even at the same table. I don't mean you over there in England and me here. I mean, if we're at the same table, we could be playing the game, and then when I go to the hospital or wherever in town, I can choose something on the app. You could choose a different path entirely.
Yeah, and I find out things that I can choose to share or not. And then allow you guys to do things which you think are really good, but I know on the other side that, is better for me. But yeah, I think it is fantastic. Really, it's like a 3-hour playtime as well. And it was about three hours for us on the first time.
Yes. Did you play it? How many players did you play?
We've only played it 2-player.
Okay. We've only played it at 2-player as well. We're waiting until October. Sometimes, prior to Halloween, I think we're going to,
that's a great idea.
Bring it out with
with
the 4. Cause to be fair, one of the reasons when we first saw it, it was, so Board Game Coffee did a review of it on his channel, and, it looked really cool. And then Katie and I were like, this would be a great Halloween themed game. And we both agreed, and we were like, we need to back this because look at these components. It's just superb. So, it's beautiful. And so when you're placing your workers, you're either doing them in your estate in front of you or the town, which is like a spiral book that's shared between all of us. So, it's
and you upgrade your house, adding buildings, which again, if they're too creepy, you're getting negative impact every round. Try not to say too much about spoiling it, but if you'd like a worker placement game and that story-driven element, and you don't mind app-driven games, then if you can find a copy of My Father's Work, check it out. I'm sure there'll be another Kickstarter with some future expansions at some point.
There has to be, because there's just too much untapped potential.
Yeah, huge amount of potential. So that is
My Father's Work. Yes.
That's the end of the show. We've got to our 30-minute mark. And
we did.
Yeah. I love Picture Perfect. And I love Sleeping Gods. And thank you for introducing me to My Father's Work.
Absolutely.
Because it just looks beautiful on the table. And
Turnaround is fair play, because there's another game that you and I did not get a chance to talk about that you recommended to me, and I'm grateful for.
Oh, it's going to be Rococo, right? Because that nearly made my list.
Boys and girls, it's as if Gareth knows me. It was in fact Rococo, and we will reserve that for another episode.
We'll do that, because that game is a game that's old, that's only just come into my life, because we picked up the deluxe version from whatever. Eagle Griffin game that I backed, and it's amazing. But let's not cover it now. Great. I could talk about it for 15 minutes. It's really good. Really good.
Yep. So just to remind everyone, My Father's Work. And don't forget Wonderlands War.
Break the Bank. These are Break the Bank. Planet Unknown.
Planet Unknown. So you're going to have to take out a loan.
Sorry, everyone. The cardboard is expensive.
Well, the problem is we're going deluxe, so it's like metal coins.
Yeah, these are all deluxe games, actually. Yeah, we should have retitled this. It's not that he is gonna. What's that episode called?
Well, welcome to Meeple, the deluxe edition.
Yeah, it's just called Break the Bank or something like that. Right. So thank you, PJ, for another wonderful episode.
Thank you.
We've got some good stuff coming up. We've got some special guests that we're finally going to get on the show. So that's
going to be great. I'm so excited to get more people on, and it's going to be really great.
Thank you all for listening. Just drop us a DM on Instagram, and we got plenty of space to host up to 7. Crazy if you had 7 people on it. But any ideas or topics you want to hear about, just drop them in the comments or drop us a DM. And we love chatting to you all about the show and love the feedback you give us. So it really makes it
absolutely worthwhile. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Gareth. Once again, good to hear from you.
Yep.
Glad you had a good day.
Mate. And I'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.